On deck, we're talking 2023 World Baseball Classic and the hobby.
Let's do it.
All right, we're back. I got my boy Brent. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Shout out your IG.
Yeah, thank you. Deep Value Investor 1.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too, man.
Our schedules haven't really linked up. We wanted to make this preview episode for the World Baseball Classic, but instead it's already kind of started a bit, so we'll jump right into it. Basically,
I'm excited, man.
This is the 2023 World Baseball Classic, and we have 22 of the 28 top MVP finishers from the NL and AL competing.
Wow.
This is a star-studded event.
Wow.
Let's take a look at some of the historical candidates of the World Baseball Classic. We have Daisuke, we have Robinson Cano with the Dominican, and we have Marcus Stroman, Team USA, leading us to victory, who is now playing for Puerto Rico. Brent, one of the things I want to talk to you about was Robinson Cano. I wanted to talk about his Hall of Fame path, pre-PED suspension.
Yeah, I think Robinson Cano is really interesting because it's a case study where a guy can be on a Hall of Fame path, and you think that, that guarantees that he's going to be collectible as a player, as a card, but then it doesn't necessarily end up that way because of what you just said about the PED suspension. But before the PED suspension, Robinson Cano was on a Hall of Fame path, and one of the things I took note of is he is third as far as active players for career WAR right now, at 68.1. That is higher than Miguel Cabrera. In 3 less seasons, he actually has a higher WAR than Miguel Cabrera. Also, another thing I'd like to take a look at is WAR 7, which takes into account a player's most productive 7 years. And I took some notes here. So he's got 49.2 WAR 7. So his most productive years. That's 9th all-time as a second baseman.
Wow.
9th all-time. That puts him ahead of guys like Ryan Sandberg, Craig Biggio, Roberto Alomar, guys like that.
Wow.
I don't know if you ever heard of those guys.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I've heard of those Hall of Famers.
Had a better career than those guys. Those guys are all in the Hall of Fame.
I wanted to bring up Cano, and I wanted to shine a spotlight on Cano, specifically for the fact that, he was one of my favorite hitters of all time, and I remember tracking the 3,000 hit club, and him being right there with Adrian Beltre.
Yeah,
and
another great player.
The suspension happened, and I still got a lot of love for Robinson Cano, who's actually on the DR roster. Got a pinch hit last night. So
the WAR 7 is interesting because it takes into account, the most productive years versus, like, just say if a guy played for 20 or 30 seasons.
Right.
So a lot of times people tell me WAR doesn't matter. Do you want to know who the top 4 all-time center fielders are for WAR 7? Let's see if you recognize these names.
Okay.
Number 1, Willie Mays.
Recognize.
So I guess WAR doesn't matter. He's number 1. He's not very collectible. Number 2, Ty Cobb.
Okay. Ty Cobb was a center fielder?
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
Number 3, Mike Trout.
Okay. Heard of him.
Number 4, another guy that's not very collectible, Mickey Mantle. So those are the top 4 center fielders of all time for WAR 7.
Okay.
So anytime people tell me WAR doesn't matter, that's my rebuttal.
Okay, let's dive into some of these teams here. I'm going to call these the best of the rest. Basically, historically in this World Baseball Classic, there's been 4 powerhouse teams, so we're going to dive into the best of the rest here. Basically, I'm going to highlight some players. We have Jung-Hoo Lee from Korea. He'll be posted to the MLB next year in 2023. Should demand a nice payday there. Julio Urias from Team Mexico.
He's good.
Perfect fit. LA Dodgers, Team Mexico. Perfect fit out there in Chavez Ravine. Xander Bogaerts, San Diego Padres, playing for Team Netherlands. And we have Luis Robert for Cuba, who I believe is advanced already. And then we have Ronald Acuna for Venezuela. From a hobby perspective, I want to dive into a guy who I know you have some nice opinions about, and that's Luis Robert.
Yeah, so I did a post on my Instagram about Luis Robert, and I called him the dog of the Dow. So in the stock market, every year they come out with a list of the dogs of the Dow, so the Dow Jones, and which stocks were the worst performing the previous year, because a lot of people like to take a look at that and say, okay, who has an opportunity for upside this year? So Luis Robert was down the most out of pretty much any young baseball modern player last year. So that intrigued me because that tells me, okay, this guy could have a lot of upside if he has a good season this year. The only downside to Luis Robert is now he's 26, I believe, and he's starting to get to the age now where it's not really a prospect anymore.
Right.
He's getting a little bit older. I feel like this is the year he needs to do something. Otherwise, we're talking WAR, we're talking trajectory for the Hall of Fame, things like that just start fizzling out really quickly.
Yeah.
But as far as a guy with a lot of upside that's down a lot, Luis Robert is definitely that guy.
Yeah, that's good info. I tend to link Luis Robert with Kyle Lewis. I think that 2020 COVID collecting time, they kind of shot to stardom during that time. I never was big on Luis Robert, but
so he did hit 300 last year with a bum wrist all season.
Okay.
So if he can be healthy this year, if you like Julio, this is a guy that's like a Julio if he can stay healthy. He's athletic, he's big, he's strong. But he's got to do it now because he's getting too old.
Okay. Next guy I want to dive into, and I specifically want to highlight because I felt like we spent the last video comparing everybody to Acuna, but I want to give Acuna some love. One of the top players in the game, Team Venezuela, big win over the DR last night. From a hobby perspective, what do you think about Acuna going into the 23 season?
So again, he's another guy that there's some advanced metrics that show he was one of the unluckiest hitters last year. I like that. So I like that he's coming off of an injury. I like he's going to be a lot healthier this season. Much like Luis Robert being a dog of the Dow, Acuna was one of the most unluckiest hitters versus say like Paul Goldschmidt was one of the luckiest hitters.
Okay.
So if you're looking at like collecting and cards and who could have a bounce back season, who might be already priced too high based on being too lucky versus unlucky, you know, a Goldschmidt might have been too lucky. Acuna might have a bounce back year. So I like that. Plus I like his WAR. So for a young player, there's only a few guys that jump out at me that have good WAR for a young age, and that is Devers, Acuna, Soto, guys like that. So he's got the WAR, but realistically, he's had one really good year in his career. So he's going to have to do it a lot more.
Yeah, I love Acuna, man. I think going into last year, you know, everybody was high on Acuna and Tatis. Definitely, what a difference a year can make, right?
Well, yeah, because we talked about Robinson Cano before.
Right.
Between 2010 and 2014, Robinson Cano had 5 top 6 MVP finishes. 5.
Absolutely, one of my favorite hitters, man.
If that were happening today, his card prices would be so high.
Absolutely.
So I try to, I like Acuna the player. I like what he's done so far. It's always a matter of pricing versus what he's actually done.
For sure. Okay, so next, we talked about kind of the best of the rest. So I want to dive into the big four. Historically, with this World Baseball Classic, we've had 4 powerhouses. We've had the DR, Japan, USA, and Puerto Rico. So what I'm going to do is kind of talk about each one of these teams and talk about who the weight of the world from their country's perspective might be on. So first, let's start with Puerto Rico. We have, Javier Baez, Francisco Lindor, Edwin Diaz, manager Yadier Molina, which I love. I think in the World Baseball Classic, this is so early in the spring training season that having a closer can be huge during this event. So Edwin Diaz being on Team Puerto Rico gives them a huge advantage. However, obviously there's one huge hole that they're missing, and that's Carlos Correa. So I'm going to put the weight of the world for Puerto Rico on Francisco Lindor. From a hobby perspective, what are your thoughts on Francisco Lindor?
I like Lindor a lot from a hobby perspective. I think that he was a guy much like the Vlads and the Sotos and Acunas that were hyped really early on. And his prices have come way down, but as a shortstop, his WAR, the path that he's on, it looks great. So I really like Lindor at the current pricing that he's at. I feel like he's out of that initial bubble hype, and he's kind of growing into that mature veteran player that's come down to a reasonable price range. I really like where Lindor's at.
I love Lindor as a player,
I'd be looking at blue first Bowman autos of Lindor, gold first Bowman autos of Lindor. You can get a gold first Bowman auto of Lindor for around the price of maybe a Soto refractor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So next we have Powerhouse Dr. They won the 3rd World Baseball Classic, as we stated, with Cano as the MVP. They're led by Manny Machado, Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto. Vlad Jr. had to pull out. I wanted to, previously when we had discussed this, I wanted to talk about Vlad because I think Vlad's prices are down he's lower priced because he plays up in Canada. So I thought this was a good opportunity for Vlad to kind of skyrocket up a little bit. But I want to talk about Machado a little bit.
I was going to say, out of that list, who do you think that I would like?
Machado, for sure.
Machado,
and I want to talk about Machado from this standpoint. I feel like San Diego Padres are an interesting team. Tatis coming back, Juan Soto, one of the top players in baseball, and then Machado. I think
and Xander.
Yeah, and I think all fingers would point to Machado as being the leader of that team. Just got paid as such. So I think that same respect is going to be viewed on Machado on Team DR. Give me your thoughts from a hobby perspective on Manny Machado.
I love Manny Machado. He's one of my 50 by 30 guys. Yep. So he's got 50 WAR by age 30. There's only Mookie Betts and Mike Trout that have that currently. I think that he's probably the best hitter on that team, best all-around player on that team.
On which team?
On the Padres.
Okay.
I know you're a Soto guy. Did you guys catch that long pause because he's a Soto guy?
Okay.
Don't talk to me about walks.
Okay.
All right. I like Soto too, but Machado as an all-around player, love him. I think that he's already going to go down as one of the great third basemen of all time. He just needs to put together another, 3, 4, 5 more seasons. Great player.
Great player. Okay.
He's still pissed about Soto.
No, man. I think Tatis might dwarf them both, to be honest with you.
Well, I said all-around hitter. I could see Tatis having a really slow start.
Yeah.
I could see, and then people panicking about Tatis not being good.
At the plate or
at the plate?
At the plate.
And the field. I think that, being moved into the outfield, we'll see. Machado as an all-around player, he's got no holes in his game.
Okay. No, I mean, I love Machado too. I just want Soto.
Yeah.
Juan Soto.
Another thing to remember about Vlad is they moved the fences in at his home stadium.
At Rogers Center.
So the fences, I can't remember if it was 7 feet, 9 feet, something like that. So keep your eye on Vlad, his power numbers being up a little bit this year. I'd recommend his first Bowman blue refractor that's around 4s.
Affordable. I was looking at a refractor. Refractor Bowman first. Vlad, and it was affordable. I couldn't believe it. That's why I wanted to.
But when you say affordable, we have to remember.
Right.
So $4,000, $5,000 for a blue first Bowman auto Vlad is double what Manny Machado's first Bowman blue auto is. Right. So he's affordable for a modern guy, but compared to the studs of the past, he's not. Right.
Okay, let's dive into Team Japan. 2-time winner of the World Baseball Classic. Obviously, the weight of the world, Shohei Ohtani, modern-day Babe Ruth. We have some other players on this team. Roki Sasaki almost pitched 2 perfect games back-to-back in the Japanese league. Munetaka Murakami, the leading home run hitter in Japan. Obviously, the weight of the world on Shohei Ohtani. And I think, we'll talk about this more later at the end of the video, but I think the most iconic World Baseball Classic card is the 2017 Bowman Chrome Mega Box Shohei Ohtani. From a hobby perspective, a lot to like with Shohei Ohtani. What do you think?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I am a little concerned about him changing teams next year.
I think he will.
You know how that always tends to affect guys' cards. I don't hear anyone ever talking about that. Typically when a player changes teams, they have a little bit of a lag in
we
their
hear
card
the
prices.
Padres are going to make a big offer on him, actually.
Yeah, so, I like that he's people globally would collect Ohtani. I really like that. It's pretty rare to have somebody that's collectible globally. Think of like an Ichiro and guys like that that are really picking up steam. Ichiro's cards are up significantly in the last couple years. So I really like Ohtani. He is priced for perfection. This is what they would say.
Right.
So, I take that into account too, that there is no margin for error with Ohtani cards.
Right.
If he has any hiccup this year, look out below.
He's not going to have any hiccups.
So,
the thing I think about Ohtani is I think there's transcending across all sports, I think there's a few players where their base rookie cards is worth grading and worth collecting, and I think Ohtani falls in that category with LeBron and Giannis and Ohtani. His Bowman Chrome batting number 1 is a gradable card. Yeah. Just base.
Yeah, that's true. The other thing to think about too and remember is he doesn't really have a first Bowman auto.
Right.
He's got a Bowman rookie auto in a hitting and in a pitching. Right. So it actually doubles the population of those cards too. And he's got the Topps Chrome. So he's got a lot of...
The Finest is an underrated card with the batting photo. I really like the Finest for Ohtani.
Yeah. I think I'm just catching on to there's a lot of his cards out there.
Right.
And there's a lot of variations of cards that I know the pitching Bowman auto is considered his like best, but then there's also the hitting. So
I like the hitting.
Yeah,
I like the hitting. If I was going to buy,
I guess the pitching
Ohtani,
came out first,
right?
So that's considered his first.
If I was going to buy into Ohtani, I think it would be the finest auto. But okay, let's get to the powerhouse Team USA, led by Mike Trout,
USA,
Paul Goldschmidt,
USA.
Nolan Arrenado, Mookie Betts, the Phillies trio, Schwarber, Trea Turner, JT. As I mentioned in our previous video, I felt like this World Baseball Classic would have been a perfect just coming out party, not coming out party, but a perfect, just marquee event for Bryce Harper with his Philly teammates on that team. Having Harper and Trout on that team,
that would have been great.
I think Harper would have went through the roof with this, but obviously I'm going to put the weight of the world for Team USA on Mike Trout. Seeing Mike Trout in a playoff-like environment, I know that's your favorite player. That gives me goosebumps, man. We already know what you think from a hobby perspective of Mike Trout. 80 WAR by 30. So I'm going to ask you from a card perspective, are any of these other Team USA players, are you picking up any of these guys' cards?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So, I brought some here to share with you. So I like this because it's the starting lineup for Team USA. So you got the Mookie Betts Blue. This value and this card, we're just talking about Vlad's Blue first Bowman autos being 4,000 to 5,000. This is around 4,000.
Okay.
So Mookie Betts, I feel like he's proven a lot more than Vlad so far in his career.
And Mookie Betts, if Mike Trout asks you to play on Team USA, you play on Team USA.
We got the man himself, Mike Trout.
Oh my God.
First Bowman auto, blue refractor number to 150. Followed by Paul Goldschmidt hitting third, gold refractor number to 50. Followed by his teammate Nolan Arrenado, orange refractor number 25.
Give me some hobby perspective on Arrenado.
Man, so Arrenado, he's a great example of a guy that was playing for the Rockies and no one really paid a lot of attention to him. Goes over to the Cardinals and now people are really, the franchise matters. Like where a guy plays matters. If you actually look at both these guys, Diamondbacks, Rockies, now with the Cardinals, look how much more people pay attention to them now.
Right.
They were both great players before they went to the Cardinals. But now people are starting to realize, okay, these guys have put in 10, 12 years of great careers, and they're both on a Hall of Fame path. Okay. So Arrenado might go down as one of the greatest third basemen of all time. His WAR is not up there with a guy like Mike Schmidt, but nobody's is.
Okay.
But he's tracking like guys like Wade Boggs, for example, like those big time third basemen.
Okay.
Trea Turner. This is another guy that I think is crucial for Trea Turner. He's similar to Aaron Judge, where at 30 he was around 30 WAR, which isn't significant. It's not like Mookie, it's not like Trout, but I think Trea Turner, when I see him as a player, I think he's got a lot of longevity ahead of him.
Okay.
When a guy just looks really young for their age, Trea Turner, the speed, the defense, the hitting, I have a feeling he's going to play for a long time. He's not a guy that I feel like, he's getting old at 30.
Right.
Like, he still looks great. I think that matters.
Right.
When you see guys, that all 30 is not the same.
Yeah, Trea Turner can really do it all.
He looks like he's 25.
Yeah.
So that matters. I could see him playing another 5 or 10 years. So.
Okay, so we just rattled off a lot of Team USA studs right there.
Oh, man. Love those cards. And also, think about, too, you're able to get into these guys orange. They're golds. They're blues. Right? So why settle for a refractor out of 500 or 499 when you can get a guy that's already proven themselves and get a card that's out of 50 or 25? So
absolutely. I kind of want to open this up to the comment section, so comment down below, but I want to talk about the most famous and iconic national pride cards of all time. As I mentioned, I think arguably the top World Baseball Classic card ever produced is the 2017 Bowman Chrome Mega Box Shohei Ohtani. And then for me, I kind of was touching a base on you with this earlier, but I was going after Steven Strasburg cards in 2010 Bowman. Yeah. And so the Harper card came out with the Team USA jersey. To me, that's always an iconic card. That's another base card that I feel like is collectible.
Yeah.
The 2010 Bowman Chrome Bryce Harper. And then is there any other? Before I unveil my number one.
Well, talking about going after Strasburg, I just want to say something. Everybody, this is like a public service announcement. Everybody should open an older box of, say, Bowman, 2010, 2011, 2012. and get the reality of 99.9% of these guys will be worthless and will not pan out. So as a PSA for everybody, open an old box of baseball, because if you think that every young player right now is going to become a Hall of Famer, go look at their top 100 prospect list. Look at the names on there. You won't recognize almost any of them. So little side PSA for you.
Okay. But what do you think, get back on track here, what do you what do you think the #1 national pride card is?
I think you have it over there.
I do.
I think you have it. I think it's the Mark McGwire.
Yeah, and what's funny is I was like, man, this has to be the #1 national pride card, the 85 tops, Mark McGwire, iconic card. And I know what's funny is when I brought this up to you, you had just bought the card, right?
Yeah. So I just got on PWCC the PSA 9 with the SI appeal top 5% Tiffany of that Mark McGwire. But it's in my vault, so I couldn't bring it.
Right. To me, this is just, in my neighborhood, Tacoma Tigers, my first ever favorite team. Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, Walt Weiss, everybody that came up through there. Tacoma Tigers hat, Oakland A's satin jacket. This is just one of the cards that I'll always have. So you don't know nothing about that being from Portland, but
that's true. But, we didn't have a team, man. We didn't have anything going on.
Seattle Mariners, man.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Brent. I'm excited for the World Baseball Classic. It's always awesome to have playoff atmosphere in the beginning of the season. So everybody, make sure to stay tuned and go Team USA.
USA.
Thank you for checking me out. Make sure you like, comment, show that ultimate love, and subscribe. Thank you for watching SeattleSportsCards.com content.